Hi, guys. Welcome back. Today, we're going to visit with Sarah is Strong. Her YouTube channel is about her wanting to lose 80 pounds, and she talks about everything from the mental aspect of losing weight to the physical challenges. And I think you're going to love her. When you get a chance, take a look at Sarah is Strong's YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe to her content.
Hello! Tonight for dinner, I made something that drove Bunny absolutely crazy. It is some salmon right there with a few capers on top, a side of mushrooms, and a side of yummy, delicious spaghetti squash. Sunday was family dinner, but because it was also Cinco de Mayo, we decided to go out to eat at a local Mexican restaurant. I studied the menu and decided on the Cabo San Lucas salad. For my drink while we waited for my parents to show up, I got a full sugar regular Coke. This pico de gallo is probably my favorite salsa ever. It's better than the ones at Qdoba or Chipotle too. The platter of nachos that Tanner got was absolutely massive and loaded up with cheese. Then on my right, my dad ordered a cheesy dip. I guess it's fair to say that I was pretty surrounded by temptation. Once I was done with my Coke, I decided to order water instead of getting a refill. And last but not least was my salad, the famous Cabo San Lucas.
So this is obviously Sarah. You just saw the meal that she had at Cinco de Mayo. I wish she would have stayed away from the soda and maybe stayed away from that dip. But sometimes when you're out with family for a special occasion, which Cinco de Mayo is for a lot of families out there, right? Sometimes those situations come up where you just end up eating too much. One of the main things you want to make sure is that you don't beat yourself up for something like that. Let's see how she continued from this monster meal she had.
Just wanted to chit chat a little bit about how things went this weekend. I already don't remember what I ate yesterday. I might have to look in my app because the things that I was thinking of first and foremost were the 2 meals that I had out. A little reflection on the sequence of events that happened leading up to Tanner and I eating out twice this week. So, first things first, when he got home on Friday, I had just been waking up because even though I work night shift, I always stick to that night shift schedule, meaning I typically go to sleep around like 6 or 7 a.m. and then on a work day, I would wake up around 3, or on my days off, I usually snooze quite a bit and I wake up around like 4 or 5. So that's my typical sleep schedule. So by the time Tanner got home around 4:30, I was just waking up. And I don't know why, and maybe this is something I could think about a little harder, but like when it's the end of the week or the end of something stressful or just like something that I want to be able to do, I really, really want to go eat out. Like that's like my default thing that I want to do when I see friends. That's like the thing that I look forward to a lot throughout the week. And I'm not saying that my new plan needs to be to never eat out again because I don't think that's realistic, especially with me as a foodie. But I think I could limit it like significantly.
So a lot of times when I talk about like going certain places because it's a birthday or a family outing and stuff, a lot of times you want to be able to eat and pig out. But at the same time, a lot of us want to do exactly what Sarah is talking about here, which is we want to have a situation where once or twice a week, regularly, we can go out to eat, whether it be with family and friends or just, you and your girlfriend or you and your boyfriend, right? Or whatever the situation is. That can be really troubling when you're trying to do a diet and exercise plan. But when you go out to eat, you normally don't go out to eat as well as that meal that they had at Cinco de Mayo. So there's a couple of things that we can do. Instead of an appetizer, what you could do is order a salad, right? That's something easy that doesn't it fills up space, but it doesn't necessarily give you a ton of calories, right? At least compared to the regular appetizers. You could also drink unsweetened tea or water. And then with your entrees on your plate, there's nothing wrong with splitting it. A lot of times you'll notice, especially with places like Mexican food, they give you entrees that are not only enough to get full on, but a lot of times we're able to take some of it home. Why not save money and split it with your partner? Or if you're there with your son or daughter, why not split your meal with them? That's just my thinking because you're going to be filling up on chips and salsa, which, oh my God, I almost forgot. Stay away from the chips and salsa.
Limited quite a bit more. So we're in bed and I'm like bugging him for where we're gonna go out to eat. And he's kind of the opposite of me. He does not like sit down restaurants. He would rather go through a drive through. Like, we're both bad in the sense that we both like to not cook our own meals, but he's more of a drive through person and I'm more of like a restaurant person. So I'm bugging him, and I'm like, look, it's been forever since we had a sit down restaurant. Like, I want to go somewhere and actually sit down and dine and eat. And then I just happened to think of it. I was like, we haven't gotten Indian in a long time. Like, I'm craving Indian. I really, really would love to go get some Indian food. Then before we had even pulled in to the parking lot, we both already knew what appetizers we were getting. It's the restaurant that I had my 16th birthday dinner at because I love it so much. So when we were enjoying our food, I honestly was getting full pretty fast. And I think that's because I had all of the soup of my appetizer, or of my, I guess, first meal. First course? Thank you. First course.
It's interesting. Would we lose weight more easily if we looked at appetizers and first courses for what they really were? They're the first meal. When you eat potato skins and part of your wife's salad and part of your son or daughter's breadsticks on their plate, right? You've already eaten the whole meal, Bob, right? It's time to call it a day, but you're just getting started. So imagine this, if we look at it from first course, second course, third course, right, and dessert, we can actually baby step our way out of these meals without killing the meal. For example, if you go out to eat, what she's saying is exactly true. You go out for a steak dinner, they're going to ask you if you want any appetizers. I know you like the spinach artichoke dip. Who doesn't? It's time to go ahead and pass on that. If you absolutely have to have an appetizer, again, go for a little house salad and just have a little Italian dressing on it, not a smothering of Thousand Island dressing on it, okay? In addition to that, the very last meal that you get from a restaurant, because it's a special occasion, is the dessert. You're going to start skipping the dessert, at least for the next 90 days that you're taking on this challenge, okay? And if you're just watching this out of the blue, if you can stay away from the soda, that appetizer, and the dessert, you can probably get away with eating your entree. And again, if you're going to Mexican food or Italian, you can probably split the entree unless the restaurant doesn't like that. Sometimes they can really discourage that, if you know what I mean.
I had all of my soup. I had like 4 out of the 8 pieces, or excuse me, I had 3 out of the 8 pieces of the bread appetizer that I got. And then I had maybe a third to a half of my entree, probably more like a third, to be honest. And because I went home with a lot of leftovers, I felt pretty good about how much I had eaten. Like, I wasn't really that hungry because I had just woken up. So the amount of food that I had at the restaurant like filled me up pretty fast. And then just because we were by one, I ended up going through Scooters, which, like, I technically can fit it in my diet most days, like, especially with the extra vegetables that I've been eating lately. Like, it's not that difficult to fit it in, but I know it's not like the healthiest thing for me. And if anything, I should just like eat more protein, eat more veggies, have like bigger servings of food instead of eating liquid calories. So that's something that like I know and I'm aware of, but at the same time, it's like I want to have a little bit of fun, like don't kill my buzz here. And I am proud that most of the time I do make my coffee at home now. But then today came around and it was Cinco de Mayo, and I already knew going into family dinner, my plan was to not eat much at all. And I was assuming this whole time that we were eating dinner at home. I had no idea that my parents wanted to go out to eat.
So this is where I pretty much disagree with every health fitness person out there that has a YouTube channel. My thinking is, if meeting with your family is a rare occasion, which a lot of times it is as we get older, right? The kids don't necessarily want to hang out with us, right? But if they do want to hang out with you, go ahead and enjoy your meal as long as you get right back to walking the next day, drinking nothing but water, and staying away from sugar. Because the reality is, your kids, especially if they're in this economy, kind of growing their family, they're going to love the idea of getting together with you guys once or twice a month. You're going to want to enjoy the meal with them, And even if they didn't go to a restaurant, you know they're going to want to get a pizza. That's what the grandkids want to do. So again, I firmly believe if you walk every day, drink water all the time, and avoid sugar as much as you can, I think you'll be able to eat a lot more of these meals with your family than you think. But again, you can still make smarter decisions while you're there. If there's plenty of family members there to like eat all the food, you can kind of avoid it or at least try to.
So I told myself going into it, like, just have a lot of the protein or some of the protein, like, eat enough so that you're not being rude. I'll eat my leftovers, I'll eat something else at home. And then plans got changed, and suddenly I was in my favorite restaurant, and I was like, oh shit. Even then, I think I handled it miraculously. And part of it was thanks to the situation that the flour chips that they brought out were not hot. Like, usually, I don't know if they put it under a heat lamp or something, but usually the flour chips that they bring with the pico de gallo is like is hotter and it's a lot more like appetizing. But this time it was room temp, which like honestly worked in my favor because I didn't want that many of them. Then Tanner got nachos, which he and I agreed that we were gonna split. And then they bring this massive, like bigger than my head size platter of nachos. And I was like, you're eating that? Like, I can't do it. I couldn't do it. Like, oh my God. And all the cheese on top of it too. I was out for the count. I was already like, look, this one's you. So I'm proud with the restraint that I showed when it came to chips, because there was chips with the pico de gallo, chips with the cheesy dip that my dad got, and then of course chips with the nachos. And I even told Tanner ahead of time before we ordered, I was like, we're gonna be eating a lot of chips today.
So if you can ditch the dessert, ditch the soda for water, when your water's there, guzzle as much of the water as you can so it takes up space. Eat those chips as slowly as you can, because you know it takes about 10 to 15 minutes before you start to feel full, and then just take your entree home. You got to try something. Always try new things. If you're right-handed, try writing with your left. It's supposed to be good for your brain.
Meal, and I pointed it out to him and he was like, oh, you know. But it was just something I noticed, and I think like calling attention to it, at least for myself, was like a way that I could prepare and that I could like realize how much food there was and how the opportunity or like the chance that I would overeat in chips was like a very, very valid concern at that time. So I'm happy with how I navigated it, and I definitely showed a lot of restraint when it came to the appetizers. Then my salad came, and by that time, another platter, huge platter of food with chips lining the edge of it, which by the way, I only had one of the chip from the salad because I was totally chipped out. I was starting to eat my salad and I couldn't finish it. I really couldn't. I had like I did eat all of the avocado out of it because I'm like, this is gonna go brown in my fridge, so let me just eat this fresh. And then I had maybe half of the chicken, and then like not even like a quarter of the amount of dressing that they put on the side. I really need to not eat out as much. And that concerns me because I don't really like my own cooking that much. Pardon the outfit change, my arms were getting a little bit chilly. Yeah, it was a pretty happy weekend. It was a pretty nice long weekend off of work. My only like semi-concern, like I'm not too freaked out about it. Like I think I'll be okay because I've had scooters before, I've eaten out before. Like literally my day one was Tanner's birthday and we had like a ton of greasy and high sugar foods when we went out to the wings place. I have experience with indulging and then getting back on track. As I was saying, I have experience, I have built some skill in returning to / resuming / just moving on, being resilient, practicing resiliency, and moving on through any slight deviation or slight slip up. And like it sucks to call it a slip up. It sucks to like view it as if it was a mistake because like it's just like part of my life.
Guys, what she said there is really gold. It's not a slip up. It's not a mistake. It's not a, oh my God, you failed. It's just life, right? I don't think going to your grandchild's birthday and having a little bite of cake or a little bit of Coca-Cola is the end of the world. As long as you're able just to go back to your walking and drinking water and avoiding sugar the next day, it's really not that big of a deal. And if you're going out for lunch, you could still get in an extra walk that same day, right? We're always going to have these challenges. Don't beat yourself up on it. And as a matter of fact, that's why diets fail, because people go out for Cinco de Mayo with the family and then they throw their hands up in the air and they say, diets don't work for me. Diets can work for you. And after hearing her story, it sounds like even though there was all that beautiful looking Mexican food at the Cinco de Mayo fest with her family, it sounds like she was able to kind of challenge herself, not eat too many chips, only had one drink of soda, which, that's better than some of us do. Let's be honest, some of us get 2 or 3 refills, right? And it sounds like she tried to stay away from her husband's nachos too. So it might have been a little mini win there for her.
Going to have special occasions, even ones that like I forgot to plan for. Stuff like this just happens, and like I don't want to view it as I quit my diet for the 2 hours that I was in the restaurant and then we left and I get right back on the diet, because like I feel like that flip-flop, like that's gonna give me whiplash after a while, because that kind of sounds a bit like an all or nothing. Like I'm all in, I'm going like 100% effort, and then I quit and I give 0% for this meal and then I get back on it. Like, why not just make the meal a part of the diet? Why not make it like an expected thing that's going to happen? Because I think that that would also like take away the big scary, like it makes it not a problem anymore. It's just part of like what happens, and that's life. Like that's fine. And I'm very confident that I'm still losing weight, especially with seeing where my calorie counts have been this week. Like it doesn't surprise me that I eat a little bit more on the nights that I don't work, because when I am at work, like it's really hard for me to eat on my breaks. My goal tomorrow, I guess, is 181.1 or lower. And just to get myself back into the habit of weighing myself frequently, because I know that like obviously it's going to depend on like how much water I'm retaining, what I've had to eat lately, how much sleep I got, what time I like stopped drinking and eating tonight. Like all of those variables and more can affect what the scale says. In order to have more accurate measurements and like be able to see it, I think I might weigh myself every day. That's what I did the last weight loss journey that I had when I lost 30 pounds, and I thought that it was pretty consistent, reliable data. So yeah, that's a possibility. So thank you everyone for watching this video, and happy Cinco de Mayo.
Again, the name of her channel is Sarah is Strong. And guys, this was one of her videos. I almost showed you 2 or 3 different ones because she does excellent videos. She goes over when she's plateauing. She goes over when she's going to the grocery store for her, the stuff she's going to buy for the week. She has videos where she's crying because of the up and downs involved. And she even has a couple videos where she feels like she genuinely failed. I don't feel like people fail as long as they keep going, because the truth is there's no such thing as a 90-day challenge in life. There's just life, and we all have to live it. And we need to try our best to stay on this planet as long as we can and as healthily as we can for our family members that we love. With that being said, go grab your shoes, because I love you. Let's go for a walk. Venters, how are you? Happy Monday. It's Sunday for me, so I still get to enjoy the day, but Monday for the rest of the world, so get to work. Get to work. Man, hopefully your weekend lasted nice and long, and hopefully it was very refreshing and energizing for you. But in case you're half asleep, wake up, open that other eye. I always tell people, If your job starts at 8, if you have to get out of your house by 7:30, wake up so you can get out of your house at 7 and you can take a quick 20 or 30-minute walk. That is the best way to infuse walking into your schedule, because a lot of times when we get home from work 8 hours later, we're just mentally and physically exhausted, and a walk just doesn't sound very appealing. However, if you take your walk first thing in the morning, guess what? You put yourself in a situation where your walk kind of becomes like your morning cup of coffee. It just really wakes you up so that by the time you actually do get in your vehicle to drive to work, you're totally awake, which is probably a good thing, because then that means that you're ready to be more alert on the road. So if somebody's driving like a maniac, hopefully you can avoid them. Hopefully you can stay out of those fender benders. So whenever you get a chance to walk before work, don't discourage yourself ultimately from doing that. Do it, because it's ultimately a good thing. I feel like I have the eye boogers today. So I wanted to talk to you guys about my insurance. I don't know if you noticed, but I ended up picking up a new vehicle from a friend of the family. And when I took it to the place where I go to get my car fixed, Sun Devil Auto out here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I've been taking my vehicles to them for like the past decade or so. And I know the manager there, and I consider him to be a friend. And his crew said, very good vehicle, pick it up, go for it. So I ended up purchasing it, and I got my insurance through Progressive because I already have my other car insured through them. And it was interesting because, they've been really doing a lot of commercials about this Snapshot. And it was funny because I kept calling it Snapchat when I called up to talk to the agent about it. But ultimately, for $115 off of my bill, kind of like a discount, I agreed to put this Snapshot onto my vehicle. Now there's two ways you can do it. You can download an app onto your phone, or you can actually go in and get a little, I guess it's a plug that fits somewhere on your vehicle, and it can actually, kind of monitor how fast you go. Are you running red lights? The whole 9 yards. It's basically Big Brother in an app, right? And I started reading, the little particulars about it and watching some videos on it. And check this out. Not only does it give you a $115 discount, but if it's monitoring you and you drive like a maniac, so let's say the speed limit on the freeway is 55, and just like anybody else, a lot of times I'll go with the flow of traffic, and sometimes the flow of traffic is up there at 70 or 75. Well, to a Snapshot app or monitor on your car, I'm sorry, I'm still half asleep. But guys, if you put this Snapshot on your car, and all of a sudden you're going with the flow of traffic, which, I don't see anything wrong with going with the flow of traffic if everybody else is on the freeway. But if you are forced to go on the freeway at the speed limit, what happens is all of a sudden when you're driving with the flow of traffic, you actually look like a bad driver. And so all of a sudden I was watching videos on YouTube 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months later, when it's time to renew your policy, sometimes people's rates go up by $400 or $500. And I actually got confirmation of this from Progressive because I called up right before I agreed to it. Because keep in mind, I agreed to it over the phone. But right before I actually signed the document saying, yeah, I agree to this, what happened was I called the little 800 number and I spoke to a representative. And I go, hey, I really don't think I want this Snapshot on. Can you give me another quote on what my insurance would be if I didn't go with the Snapshot? And she goes, okay, well, if I take it off, it's 117, which either way, I didn't really see that as a make it or break it, right? 117 bucks. Hey, good morning.
No, Chrissy.
No, Chrissy, don't bite me. What a name for a dog, Chrissy. So anyway, I asked this representative, I said, hey, I really don't like the idea of Big Brother watching me. I go, there's sometimes where you're on the freeway and there's a traffic jam, and all of a sudden traffic kind of relaxes and gets to go back to normal. And it's not uncommon for me to want to hit the gas and kind of get out of there. It's not very common that you try to be honest with an insurance agent, but I had no other option. And I said, if I end up going 70 or 75 on a freeway because everybody else is, keeping up with the flow of traffic, I go, isn't the Snapchat, I called it Snapchat instead of Snapshot. I go, isn't the Snapchat gonna monitor me? And isn't that actually gonna make me look like I'm a bad driver? When in reality, I'm just trying to stay with the flow of traffic, Especially after a fender bender. You ever been in a traffic jam on the freeway, and then, like I said, it starts to loosen up and you get to hit your gas? The last thing you want to do is, go the speed limit when everybody else is starting to go, faster than that. And she actually admitted, she goes, I have, and here was the weird thing, she works at Progressive, but she doesn't even have Progressive car insurance. I always find those things odd. But she goes, the insurance I have, she goes, I don't like any monitoring for exactly the same reason that you're talking about. If you accidentally go through a yellow light, the chip might monitor that in a negative, way. And she goes, Jesse, I've seen people's policy renew, and all of a sudden their bill costs $500 more, per 6 months. $500 more. And I just thought to myself, you know what? It's not worth the $115 savings. So I said, let me give you my debit card now. I want to pay that difference. Take that off of my policy. So she did. I gave her the $115 because my thinking is $115 over 6 months is what? $15, $20 a month. I don't want to save $15 or $20 a month and then just be big brothered and watched everywhere I go in my vehicle. It just kind of freaked me out, so I went against it. But imagine, she told me a story where a lady's premium shot up, or their monthly bill shot up by $500 over 6 months. Again, I'm sorry, I'm half asleep. But check this out. The reason this lady's insurance went up was because she had this Snapshot app on her phone monitoring her driving. But while she drove, she let her daughter, this little child, play with her phone. And apparently that's one of the things that the Snapshot actually looks for is phone activity, because when you're driving, you're not supposed to be on your phone. And apparently because this lady's daughter, a little 3 or 4 year old kid, was playing on her phone, it was making the Snapshot think she was a horrible driver that wasn't really focused on driving, but focused on her cell phone. And her bill went up $500 over the next 6 month period. And I just thought that sounds horribly scary, because sometimes when I'm driving, you're not supposed to answer the phone, but every once in a blue moon, you might answer the phone because, if a family member's calling or texting, you never know if it's an emergency. I don't make a habit out of picking up the phone, but to know that if I ever do, it's going to potentially cost me more money on insurance. So I ultimately just decided against it. If any of you at home have Progressive insurance, do you guys have the Snapshot added to your policy to lose money? If you do, did you know that technically your bill could go up every 6 months because of it? And if you didn't know, now you do, because I'm telling you, I just don't really like the idea of that. And I consider myself, guys, to be an incredibly safe driver. I've never been in any hardcore accidents, but I have been in some little fender benders where it wasn't my fault. I would just hate to have a bill pop up because 1 or 2 days on a long freeway trip, I decided to go 70 or 75 instead of 55. I just don't want to deal with that.
And again, it was so weird telling this to a insurance agent over the phone, but at the same time, it was really weird that the insurance agent was like agreeing with me, basically saying the same thing that I was, that yeah, I don't have anything like that on my vehicle because I don't like the idea of monitoring myself to, just wait till I do something wrong. So I took that off. Would you do the same? Would you pay the difference, $115 over 6 months, to not have that? Maybe I'm crazy, right? Some people like saving money regardless of how you do it, but if every time you save $100 in life, it puts you at risk of potentially owing a higher bill down the line, heck, I don't think that's worth it, do you? I really don't. Guys, on today's video that you're watching, Michelle, her YouTube channel is called Unicorn and Centaur. Michelle sounds really upbeat and positive because, much like me, she did a weight transformation a couple years back where she ended up losing like 60 or 70 pounds. And so she figured, hey, since life has made it where all of a sudden I've gained 40 or 50 pounds back, I think I can actually take people on a weight loss journey with me, and maybe they could potentially lose some pounds with me. So she gives some tips and stuff. I mean, you guys are watching her video today. But what made her video so interesting, and again, it's one of the reasons why I like going and checking out people's older YouTube channels. She actually started a diet, gave some tips to diet and exercise, told us her goals, and then over the course of a couple months, she realized that she just failed. She's giving tips and she only lost 2 pounds. What I don't think she realized is that it takes about 60 to 90 days before you start to see that 10 or 15 pound loss. And for some people, it's a little bit delayed. One of the things that I think she might have been going through that I'm going through now is that when you're 35, 38, 42, sometimes losing weight is easier at those younger ages than as we get older. Because now I'm 47, getting ready to turn 48 in September. And what I'm noticing is that it is a little bit more challenging. My scales are slightly different. I ordered an electric scale so that when I take a picture of it, you guys can see the number a little bit clearly. But it's a little bit different than the number on my traditional scale. The problem with my traditional scale is it's all over the place, and I don't know if it's water weight or just a scale that I needed to replace, but my traditional scale shows a poundage on me, or a weight, that is about 3 or 4 pounds lighter than on my digital scale that I just picked up. So that was a little disappointing. What it shows me is that this last month I seriously have to lose about 20 pounds. But guys, I don't have to do anything radically different than I already am. As you guys know, I'm part of the 7:30 club with some of you. So I haven't been eating like after 6 p.m. And sometimes that's a challenge, not because I'm hungry, but because, sometimes I want to buy certain foods. I went to Walmart and Target yesterday, and I bought some rice cakes, which I thought I would never do in my whole life. But they were flavored rice cakes, and I just thought, ooh, that might be good this last 3 or 4 weeks. And I also bought some popcorn. So if you're like me and you really like tortilla chips or potato chips, I think a good substitute this last month is popcorn. So that's exactly what I did. As you guys also know, I kind of switched up from the white bread to the multigrain bread. But here's the thing, the ultimate reason that I brought up Michelle right now is because it's so easy to quit on your diet and exercise routine. And let's be honest, if you had a friend that lost 70 pounds and they said they were going on a diet and exercise routine and they were going to share it on YouTube, it's real easy to think, oh my God, this person knows what they're doing. And I have no doubt that that's a true statement with Michelle. She probably very much knows how to diet and exercise and lose weight. The only problem is, as you get older, it may become a little bit more challenging. So what happened for you over the course of 2 or 3 months before might take a little bit closer to 4 or 5 months, And if you're really up there in age, who knows, maybe it even takes you a little bit longer. But the moral of the story is, she started off gung-ho, knew she was going to lose this weight, and then all of a sudden she felt guilty because she's telling people that she failed. I don't necessarily think she failed at all. As a matter of fact, according to her scale, for the first month or two, she lost 2 pounds, and granted, that could just be water weight, right? And then the following month, she had gained a pound or 2. So in other words, she went from -2 to maybe +1 or +2. And I think that really bummed her out. But you want to know something? That was happening to me as well. And I'm sure it's happened to some of you guys as well. How can you eat so good, exercise so much, avoid sugar so well, and still gain a pound or 2? Seems kind of cruel, doesn't it? Sometimes when you're doing caloric deficit, sometimes you have to look at the other victories other than the scale. Do your shoulders feel smaller? Does your shirt feel not so tight? Does your waist, do you feel like you need to wear a belt because your shorts are going to fall down, Those are things that you need to do to stay positive. So Jesse, you've got to lose about 20 pounds this last month, otherwise you've failed. Well, number one, I don't necessarily look at it as a fail if I don't quite lose 30, but I feel like I have an excellent plan. And in the past, this same situation always happened, where after 45 days to 60 days, I might lose 10 pounds, maybe 15. And then all of a sudden in the last month, every single week, I'm shrinking, I'm losing weight. So I feel like this is par for the course. But at the same time, I also realize, that because I'm getting older, this is kind of an experiment to me. And I don't think Michelle kind of understood that. Whenever you do something in the past and you accomplish something, you're accomplishing it as a younger, usually more athletic, usually more energetic person than when you're 5, 10, 15 years older, So in my case, I haven't taken on this challenge in this way in quite a few years because before my surgery, I was able to maintain. So Mala, I know you've asked a little bit about maintenance. Let me tell you what we don't want to maintain. The 7:30 Club, you don't necessarily want to maintain that for the rest of your life, okay? That might be something where it's cool to not snack for this last month of a challenge, but those things are restrictive, and those are part of the things that make you want to ultimately quit a diet. So my thinking is always eat your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. See if you can cut out snacks. But if you're ever doing any type of diet or exercise routine, and it truly does make things miserable for you, ease up on those restrictions. Take advantage of the 2/3 rule. If you've lost 30 or 40 pounds, you're going to be able to eat the occasional sweet thing, and it's not going to have such a devastating impact on your health or on your weight because you already have a routine, okay? There are so many videos I see why diets fail, why it's impossible to keep a diet. Guys, a lot of restrictive things where we're keeping ourselves from pleasure, a lot of times those are impossible to do. This is not one of those, okay? This is a plan that your main weapon is walking. You can drink water, but that doesn't mean that you can't occasionally have a sugar in your coffee or a root beer float or a Coca-Cola, okay? Don't look at your diet as restricting you from anything. Your diet enables you to have whatever you want, whenever you want. But you got to remember, the key is just to go right back to your routine. And your routine is simple, a quick walk before work. Even if you're doing walks after work now, guys, in the next month or two, the temperatures are gonna rise by 15 or 20 degrees. What are you gonna do if your afternoon walk becomes miserable? Think about this now before it happens. Be proactive with it. The smartest thing you can absolutely positively do, in my opinion, is get used to walking before work. Right now it's the weekend, but even if I was working, I'm out here at the same time. I'm out here about a half hour before I have to get started at my job. That's what you guys have to do to prepare for the summer. It's going to be much easier to walk at 6 or 7 in the morning than at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And if you miss your morning walk, don't power through a hot walk that's miserable at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, because things like that, again, can make a person want to quit their routine. Wait till 7 or 8 in the evening when the sun goes down. Is it still warm at night during the summer? Sometimes, but I'm sure we'd agree 6 or 7 in the evening is usually a handful of degrees cooler than it is at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So, try to use your brain to make the best decision. And the best decision is not to quit your plan. It's to adjust your plan so that it's not miserable for you. Misery equals quitting. It just does. You might absolutely love your walk in 70 or 60 degree weather. Are you going to love it at 95 or 100 degree weather where you feel like you're sweating everywhere on your body? And by the way, sweat is good, right? It's going to mean you're burning even more calories more than likely. So make sure you stay hydrated. The last thing I wanted to share with you was one of my friends, we'll call her Dee, that's just an initial, that's not her name. But Dee told me about a job where she was really, really doing well. And she asked me if I was available to work, and I told her I already have a job now, but maybe I could spread the word to some friends. But anyway, she works for a cruise line, kind of as a wannabe travel agent. She's not a travel agent, but she kind of works with a travel agency. And they reach out to clientele and they get them to take these cruises. And they're high-end cruises that cost quite a few dollars. So they reach out to pretty affluent candidates, or clients, excuse me. And what she was telling me is that if I was available, or if I knew some people that were, that you can make an ungodly amount of money. And usually people don't describe a job with the words, ungodly amount of money. So when I heard that from her, a red flag kind of popped up, because usually when jobs pay excessively well, they don't have very many openings, if you know what I mean, right? You have this great job that's perfect. You're probably going to have a great crew that never leaves, right? So check this out. I ended up doing a Glassdoor review on the place that she works. And come to find out that half of the people in the Glassdoor review, it's just like with surgeons, you gotta look at the details and see what's going on, right? So check this out. I look up the Glassdoor review on this company. Half the people gave it 5 stars. And all the people that gave it 5 stars were managers or supervisors or IT workers or HR workers with this company. And the other half of the reviews were 1 and 2 stars, and those were from previous representatives that had worked there on the sales floor. And they were mentioning, don't work for this company's a scam, this company doesn't make payroll on time, this company is always late with their checks. And it wasn't just one person, it was 8 or 9 people with a very similar review. And so my question is, would you ever tell a friend or even an associate to apply and work for a job where so many people have major problems with that job? Basically, it was so bad because supervisors and managers are almost forced to go on Glassdoor and give it a 5-star review. And if not forced, believe me, they're very much encouraged to give it a 5-star review. But when all you have is managers and supervisors and HR workers giving it 5 stars, and everybody else that's actually on the floor doing the hard work is giving it 1 star, and the complaint is that checks are bouncing or that checks aren't paid on time, whoa, I wouldn't want to work there at all. And it almost makes you wonder, You know, is my friend a supervisor and it's part of their job to keep the floor staffed, you know, to a full room, you know, where you're making all the calls that you need to make? And again, today I feel like I'm real mealy-mouthed. I apologize, but my mouth is dry. I am starting to wake up, but I feel like I can't put together my words very well, so forgive me. But ultimately, imagine you're offered a job, and imagine if you quit your good job to go work at a place like that. That's a real good way to end a friendship. You know, if your friend ever says, hey, I'm unemployed and I need a job, that's one thing. You know, give them the number to your boss and see if they can apply and interview and get the job. But if they already have a job where they have insurance, benefits, a 401k, you know, a bunch of PTO time and a good hourly and a good pay rate, and you're asking them to consider your job where people make an ungodly amount of money, could you imagine if I quit my job, went working there, only to find out that, you know, that some of my paychecks aren't going to make it? And so check this out. People would say, hey, I went to the company and complained about my pay not arriving in my check or on my direct deposit. And then next thing I know, they're firing me. And then instead of paying me the commissions that they owe, they say because I'm no longer employed there, I'm no longer eligible for their commissions. And right when I heard that, I just thought, oh, that's a shady company. And there's a lot of shady companies out there when you're a salesman or into collections or customer retention. There are so many shady companies out there. And it's a real shame because a lot of times word gets around that, hey, this company is shady. So it gets to the point where whenever anybody goes to Glassdoor to review this company, they're going to change their mind and not accept the job. So when you start having your supervisors, your managers, your IT workers, and your HR workers, you know, the people that get paid regardless of how well they do, if you get them to start going on and giving 5-star reviews, you know, I'm sorry, but it looks to me like you're trying to be false. You're trying to be deceptive on how your company actually, you know, does its business practices. Would that make you lose a friendship with somebody if you actually quit your good job for a job where you had to worry about your paycheck being correct every week? Oh my goodness. It really makes me think, because as I get older, I think that's what happens with a lot of my friends and why I kind of slowly start to part ways with them. Sometimes we do things and it's kind of a snap decision. You know, your boss comes up to you, you're a manager, and they say, hey, we need to get these seats filled. What are you going to do to make that happen? And all of a sudden you're calling close friends and stuff to see if you can get those seats filled. My God, if you're doing that and causing your friends to lose a good job for a not so good nightmare of a job, God, are you even a friend anymore? And I don't want to hold this one against her. You know, I'm just going to let her know that I'll keep her in mind. And, you know, if anything ever happened where I lost my job, you know, I might call her as, you know, a final, you know, chance to get back into the workforce, but she's not going to be my first option. She'd be my last option, you know. And if you make an ungodly amount of money, but your check never hits your bank account, who cares? That sounds like a scam, doesn't it? So what are your thinkings on that today, guys? We talked a little bit about Big Brother watching your car and how you drive it. We talked a little bit about getting offered jobs that you come to find out are kind of nightmarish in a place that you would never want to work. And how do you feel when the job is presented to you by a friend, right, that you think you can trust? And that's kind of crazy when you get companies where they have like an inner circle of people that actually do get paid, you know, the supervisors, the managers, but the people that make the money come in, you know, the sales crew and stuff, for them to get kind of cheated on it, yeah, it just seems a little shisty, a little shady to me. Don't do those things, guys. Make sure you do your homework. Same with movies. Before I go to movies, a lot of times I like to check out the reviews one of the movies that I'm thinking about going to see with a friend right now, because I'm going to go swimming at a friend's house, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is seeing if she wants to go see Planet of the Apes. There's a new Planet of the Apes movie out. Hopefully it's good, right? But yeah, diet fails, bad job offerings, Big Brother watching you and how you drive. I definitely think those are things to vent over. And now that it's Monday, get over that vent, get in your car, go to work, have a wonderful day. And we'll talk soon, Venters. Peace.